Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the post-episode issues. This week it is 24, Live Another Day, or Season 9, Episode 6, or the hours of 4 to 5 p.m. I love getting that all out in the open because it is a lot of stuff if you, depending on how you want to look at your 24.
It's like Daenerys Targaryen's titles.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I guess I tend to look at this as just Season 9 of 24. I don't understand why they needed to rebrand it 24 Live Another Day. I almost think they did that purposely because of the whole Die Hard fiasco, so they had to just put a reference in there.
Well, why would they want to be associated with the Die Hard fiasco?
Because they were that was originally supposed to be Jack Bauer and John McClane crossover film that they ditched Jack Bauer at the last second and then gave us that piece of shit film. So they're doing it as a kind of fuck you back. You know, we don't need you, but you needed us to make a crappy movie.
Would that have really worked? A Die Hard?
Freddy and Jason worked. Why not with the Expendables? Well, I don't think it worked, but people went and saw it. But anyways, welcome to the post-episode issues. This is about 24 Live Another Day. If this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you have anything to say about 24 this week, please comment away. And thank you. So we're going to get right into it because 24 is a really compact show with a lot of action. So we want to get right to the action because usually we've been doing this a couple days after the episode aired, so kind of some of that hype of what happened in the episode maybe got brought down a little bit. We just saw what happened, so this is our immediate reactions, not having a chance to see it a couple times. And with 24, a lot of stuff gets flashed at you at once, so we might miss some stuff here and there. But we'll do our best recapping 24. With still having no spoilers in case you don't watch the show, still reeling from the events of the Game of Thrones last night. So that's all we got to say about Game of Thrones. Still reeling, and thank you everybody. If anyone's crossing over and listening to both these podcasts, we really appreciate all the comments and all the views and all the repeated comments and interaction community that's forming around the Game of Thrones. It's really cool to watch it with such a wide net of people. So to Jack Bauer, who we also have a group of people that are watching this as well and are way into Jack Bauer. The show didn't take off quite in the way that Fox, I think, hoped, in the sense that it's water cooler talk type programming. I think it's just getting trounced by that definition by something like Game of Thrones. I don't think anybody in the whole world
everything is in the shadow of Game of Thrones right now. While that's on the air, there's nothing but that on the air.
Just for a more philosophical question, I wonder if, because it seems like the same thing happens, not just with our podcasts or anything, I just mean in general, when The Walking Dead is on. And this isn't a discussion of which of 24 Game of Thrones, Walking Dead is a better program. That's not what I'm talking about. But it would be interesting to see if, I think it's very clear that those shows aren't on at the same time. It would be interesting to see where the hype would go if both those shows were on at the same time. Game of Thrones is obviously a better program, but zombies are really in right now. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see just from a entertainment standpoint if both those shows aired. It's similar from a reality standpoint when The Voice decided to say fuck you to American Idol and go on the same night and be like, okay, let's just duke this out right here and see who's gonna win. And to me, I'd watch Game of Thrones, personally.
I think most of everybody in the world would. To go up against Game of Thrones straight out is pretty futile. I think anybody else who has anything that's on Sundays, there's not really much of a question as to they're not going to air their best shit at 9:00 p.m.
I think that's true with both shows, though. If you look at the ratings, and there's a lot of people that won't give Game of Thrones a chance because they're like, yeah, I don't like the fantasy thing, or yada yada yada. And there's a lot of people, I guess, that won't give The Walking Dead a chance. But I'd have to look at the hard numbers. And yes, this is a 24 podcast. We're talking about Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. But for ratings wise, I think because it's on basic cable, it gets slightly higher ratings. And I think I read somewhere that Walking Dead was the highest rated program on television right now. And it has a little bit more of we're thinking about it from people that, of course, we'd watch Game of Thrones. Anyone with taste is going to watch Game of Thrones, but there are a lot of people that...
I think the difference would be that it's probably the best show on basic cable, on
I see. I would argue that it's not even a great. I'd argue that. Uh, well, we'll talk about Walking. I would argue that 24 as a program, the way it's structured story-wise, is a better program than The Walking Dead. I enjoy The Walking Dead better, but I'd say 24. I think The Walking Dead, especially in the second and third, second season and the third season, lost a little bit of focus and got a little bit slow moving. But we'll talk more about The Walking Dead.
If you're going to be comparing past seasons, you have 9 seasons of Jack Bauer, this being the ninth, and then you have not all of those seasons are good, and you have, let's talk about the Jack Bauer daughter seasons. That it is you going by just what the content is. The whole production is different too. Like one setup, you were talking about it's basically the way the production is set up. They're two completely different things. The way they tell their stories are two completely different story modes.
Mhm.
I really like what The Walking Dead does, and I think a lot of people do, when they drop all the characters in the middle of a story to focus on one or two people in particular for a whole episode. That's something that really isn't done, you know?
Unless you're lost.
Yeah. Well,
Urge of the
yeah,
New
I guess unless you're lost. I mean, it does come from somewhere, but you don't see it often, and it's something that a lot of people.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I think The Walking Dead is a fine program, but I think when you compare it to some of the other programs that are going on, even whether they're getting better ratings or not, I don't think it's quite as. I think it's popcorn entertainment on some levels, and they mask it with some decent drama. I think the stories are entertaining, and I very much enjoy watching it. But I consider it in the same avenue as something like 24, but 24 would never get the same kind of press or attention. Maybe it did when it first came out. I don't
Oh
think.
yeah, it did. It was.
I don't think they're
The
deep.
reason why it was on for 9 seasons. This is
Exactly. I don't think they're deep programs like something like Breaking Bad or Sons of Anarchy. What Sons of Anarchy tries to do sometimes, or like Game of Thrones or The Sopranos or The Wire or Oz or something like that. I think it's more popcorn entertainment, more an extended, could be even a half an hour show if they wanted to, because it's such. I know a lot of
As far as it being a half an hour show, of course it could work. The webisodes are very popular as well. People tune into AMC.com to look at those webisodes of The Walking Dead all the time. It's huge.
and
those
that's
are 10 minutes, you know.
And that's something I actually would like to see if 24, if this isn't enough of a success for Fox to order another season. I could see 24 being very successful with some Jack Bauer webisodes.
I could see Jack Bauer webisodes, and of course I can see them ordering another season. This whole thing is set up to be a spinoff for the Blonde Chick.
We'll see about that. I still think the Blonde
We've
Chick's.
got to get into this too, because there's some Dave Navarro bullshit going on that you called, and
We did. I don't know. It's different. Okay, so
everybody called that shit right from the start. So
let's get right into it. That was a little preamble of some of the stuff you'll hear in the off season when we do some more general entertainment type podcasts where we talk about our opinions. So that sort of stuff's long overdue. But speaking of long overdue, let's get into this episode of 24. You tuned in to hear a review of 24. So here we go. At 4 p.m., the wreckage of the house, the drone destroyed. It doesn't take long to discover that Navarro and Ritter are not dead. They claw their way out of the rubble, and we get Heller getting confirmation of the ambush, but it's too soon to find out how many people were lost. And this is where a prime minister, big episode for the prime minister. This was one of those. Stephen Fry, yeah. And you said this before, that if you're going to cast Stephen Fry in this show, you need to do a lot of cool stuff with him. And this was the episode that you see why they casted Stephen Fry, because he brought a lot to the table in this episode. Yeah. He was very entertaining, and he was a major character that we got to see another perspective got brought into this. If we want to think about it similar to aspects of the story of 24 being different character perspectives. We got into the Prime Minister's perspective today. We saw a little bit of his inner circle. We met his chief of staff, and we met his little organization, his little cabinet that talked and advised him tonight.
Well, not exactly little. We're talking about.
Yeah, it was pretty big. That was pretty big. You're right. It was pretty big.
Britain, the UK. That's something pretty big.
So Davey says he's sorry about what happened, but his main concern is Margot El-Harazi having more drones and his issue with this all happening in London. He doesn't really say it, but it's basically I don't give a shit about what just happened to your guys. This chick has a lot more drones and they're facing down on London.
She's got 6 of these, and one of them that's still got most of its payload, and 5 others that have full payload, just flying around London. I don't care about your little soldiers at this point. You need to be a little bit more forthcoming with what's going on.
Sorry, Mr. President. And he says, I need the information. Give me the information so I can get my guys in on this. And the general says, no, that's sensitive data. I can't give you that information. And Davies kind of goes, listen, buddy, you don't know what you're talking about. I need to know that information. Tell me what I need to know. And Heller says that to kind of calm the situation, he says, get the Prime Minister all the info that he needs.
Get the Prime Minister all the info he needs. Get the Prime Minister all the info that he needs.
Yes, get
Did
him.
I repeat myself?
Yeah, he says it a couple of times. He says, get him everything. And the Prime Minister's advisor take him out afterwards, and they tell him about Heller's and this is the first time we've heard these words, Alzheimer's, that apparently Heller has Alzheimer's.
Oh, and that's a rumor.
A rumor, yeah. Dementia, Alzheimer's. And Heller says, God help us that maybe Heller isn't thinking with a full deck with this whole situation. We need to be careful of him because the safety of our country is in the balance of a man that might be losing his mind.
Right.
But I think reports of the president's demise have been sorely overly exaggerated. He's not. We talked about this in the first couple of episodes, and I'm glad the show hasn't done.
He's not dead. You mean of his?
Yeah, his mental demise are hugely exaggerated because we talked about this. Turn me down just a little bit. If we talked about this a little bit in like the first or second episode, where we said right in the first episode we were talking about how the symptoms were coming on sooner, and this is episode 6, and he's still yet to have a full-blown attack. He's been faced with a bunch of situations that were very stressful, and he hasn't had a mental breakdown. So I'm glad that they didn't play that card like oh my God, his symptoms may happen sooner than we think. You mean within 24 hours? And they haven't done that yet. There's still 6 episodes, but they haven't.
Well, kind of, because it's been 6 hours. That was a kind of a big slip up. That's kind of like one of the things they were worried was going to happen while he was talking to Parliament. So it's only like, 40 minutes after he walked out of Parliament's room that he's having to deal with the Prime Minister. He's repeating himself and stumbling over himself. And it really wasn't that bad of a thing.
No, I mean, those
everybody in the room kind of stares at each other like, oh my God, he just killed a baby.
And Jack Bauer decides that Heller decides that he needs Jack Bauer brought in. And he says that he tells Jack what was happened, that they were duped, and the assault team was hit by a drone missile. Heller says that there's one drone in range of London and that the others are hours away. And he asks Jack again about the arms dealer linked to Catelyn Stark. And Jack says, listen, Mr. President, I'm the only chance you got. You need to put me in the game, Mr. President. You need to do it. And he says, Heller says, I guess this is the only chance I have. And he makes the deal. And Heller asks, it's what was interesting. One interesting thing that I thought was worth mentioning is Heller asks Jack again if this guy's willing to make a deal. Is that another Alzheimer's moment? Because they talked about that in the other scene.
I think he's just trying to be sure. I mean, he's trying to get a read on Jack. Is Jack bullshitting him or not? And he wants to know Jack's sure that this is the only way that it's going to happen.
Yep, and Jack says this guy cannot be bought and he cannot be broken in the time that they need to stop him. So Heller says, okay. And then here's where we flash over to Navarro and Jordan. And Navarro says 4 are dead and 6 are wounded. And Jordan says that that he put out a gas leak story that to protect this whole situation, make it seem like they were all caught up in the gas leak. And Heller calls Navarro at this point and bumps on in and says, I'm going to put Jack Bauer on the phone. You give Jack Bauer anything he needs. he's going to find Margot Eldarazi. And Jack says he needs a clean phone, field interrogation kit, a car, and he also wants Kate as well. Navarro's like, no, you can't have Kate. You can't have Kate. And Jack goes, Mr. President, I want Kate. And Mr. President goes, you know what? You know what, Navarro?
What he wants.
Yeah, Jack gets what he wants.
Yeah.
Jack needs
wants a blowjob. Jack gets a blowjob. You give Jack what he wants. Get your knee pads out of the closet, Dave Navarro.
I thought that was one of the best lines of the night. We were just like,
it was.
It's like Jack wants it, Jack gets it, Jack will have it, Jack gets Kate. Give him Kate. He can do whatever he wants with that girl as long as he stays away from my daughter. That's all he cared about. So Jordan goes in and tells Kate that the president says that Navarro said that it's okay that the president wants him to go with Jack on a mission that Jack that no one's going to have any contact with the mission, so there's no backup. And Jordan, who seems to have a big crush on Kate, is a little concerned about this situation. Kate doesn't seem that concerned. Kate seems a little interested. She's like, Jack Bauer wanted me. This does smell like a spin-off. By me.
I do.
Am I special? Am I special? And it's interesting. I love how when she finally meets up with Jack, what ends up happening in that situation. We'll get to that in a second. So we get one very special line where someone goes, "Kate, get to the chopper. There's a chopper on the roof. Get to the chopper." It should have been Arnold Schwarzenegger just for that cameo.
Oh.
So we finally get our Eldarazis, and guys, this was all in the first. All this stuff that's happening right now was all in the first intro. Yeah, it was before the first 10 minutes of the episode. They just caught you up with what's going on in 10 different stories. It slows down a little bit after this, but this is basically just everything happens in the matter of 5-10 minutes, just zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. So now we're with the bad guys, and the bad guy, Ian, who's the son, tells his mom that the drone hit.
Which we just find that out too. We didn't know that until just now.
Right. Oh no, we found out. We heard they briefly said it in one of the early episodes that this is my son, or she says something along those lines.
Oh, okay.
I believe we did find that out before. And Ian tells her that the drone hit the CIA and he has 4 missiles left. He's hiding it in some cloud so radar can't pick it up. Now he says he's concerned about Simone. He says that she shouldn't have killed Naveed, or she shouldn't have killed him in front of the sister. And I'm thinking he's kind of right.
I was thinking he was probably right as well, right from the beginning. But then again, you never know. I mean, we saw the episode. Obviously, he was probably a little right. But ultimately, I think she's just as brainwashed as anybody else involved in the life of a lunatic.
But
that's not quite the word I'm looking for, but.
Or because it doesn't seem like she's quite this is where it's different, where Margot's a little bit different of a villain than some 24 villains. It seems like, I mean, she's obviously not sane because of what she wants to do, but her mindset, she doesn't seem like they're not making her out to be too cuckoo kanuku, too crazy, too batty, not like.
Yeah, they're making her out to be pretty frickin' batty.
I think they're making her out more to be committed than batty.
Well,
she's not doing things just. Everything she's doing has a purpose to her plan, which is a crazy plan because you're doing horrible things. But compared to some of the people that they've had on the show and some action hero enemies, she's not just shooting random people for sport just because I'm feeling crazy today. And
no, she's shooting random city blocks with missiles.
Not yet.
Feels like being crazy because her husband was killed.
Right, but it's all to
for her. Who cares about the religious war that her husband was involved in? That doesn't matter. Who cares about the countless other Muslims that have died at the hands of the evil Westerners? That's not what her problem is. Who cares about the children that died really in that same blast? That's not her problem. Her problem is that her husband died. That's what her problem is. She's doing all this to get revenge because of the death of her husband. Apparently,
that's what from the information that we have so far. You are correct.
So instead of just sitting back and living the good life, and instead of wasting all these funds on trying to kill and murder other people and the President of the United States, instead of taking all that money and just sitting back and enjoying the good life, she decides to use it to destroy the world. Yeah, that's pretty loony.
It's pretty loony, but again, she's not cuckoo. She's crazy.
Uh, Catelyn Stark is stark raving mad.
I like it. So Ian tells his mom that he's concerned about Simone, that she shouldn't have killed Naveed in front of his sister, and Margot doesn't like being questioned, and
No, she smacks that bitch.
she smacks him. Don't second guess your sister. By second guessing your sister, you're second guessing me, kid. Don't be doing that. And so we get a shot of Simone saying she's fine as the mother's watching the body getting carted out. And there's a little buzz in his pocket, and there's a little phone ring, and it's a voicemail. And she checks the voicemail, and at first...
Everybody's surprised that there's even a phone on the guy.
Yeah, I was surprised there was a phone on him, and when I first heard the voicemail, I thought it was Simone. It didn't immediately connect, oh, it's his sister. I'm like, oh, that's a message from her saying she was going to escape with him. But it ended up being his sister, and Margot, who's covering all bases, is worried about the sister and tells Simone to go meet up with her and figure out what she knows, and if she knows anything, to handle the situation. And she trusts that she will get what needs to be done. So we see Jack setting back up after the commercial break. Jack is back in action, getting his gun, doing his Jack Bauer stuff, and Mr. Bordeaux comes into the room, and he introduces himself to Jack, and we get a little bit of talking back and forth, but really he wants to talk about his wife. He wants to say, oh, hey, so...
Yeah, where are his priorities? The president's life is on the line. All these citizens of London are going to be bombed by these 6 drones, and he's worried that he's going to lose his wife.
Yeah, and he didn't seem to care about anything else that was going on. No real talk about anything. I think he was surprised Jack was so nice to him, and he was taken aback. And again, I got a weird vibe from him because he seemed, when Jack said the nice things to him at the end, that Audrey said, you know, you're a good, when he lied to him and said that Audrey said you were a good man and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember her saying that.
He didn't say that. That was bullshit. Jack asked her the question and she never answered it. He said, how's your husband? Is he a good man? Are you happy? And she just walked up to him, and then they started cheek fucking, and so we never.
The forehead lean.
The forehead lean. Yes, we never really got an answer to the question. So Jack basically tells him that you don't have to worry about me. All we did was talk, and if she does, and even if I did want her, if I make it out of this day alive, which I don't think I'm going to make it out of this day alive, and which now I definitely think he's making it out of this day alive, but by him saying he's not, and he is, if he does, he's going to jail, so don't really worry about me. I'm not a threat.
Yeah, right.
He basically said what Joe was implying. Listen, buddy, get your head out of your ass. We're dealing with a serious situation here, and you're worrying about your girlfriend. You're worried about your wife.
Which is, of course, why he tells him that she said you're a good man, because you don't want this guy's head anywhere but in the game right now. You don't want him to try to, he's gonna come and take my wife, so I'll sell him out. I'll give him wrong information.
We don't want this guy
to sign transfer orders for him
exactly.
to.
We wouldn't think this guy would like forge the president's signature and get the Russians involved in the situation or anything. No, nothing like that. No, that's not gonna happen.
No,
so,
not at all.
So Jack also has Chloe right back in the air. Perfect Chloe episode. She was totally Chloe. But she's apparently just working at the old office of Second Opinion, Second Cell, whatever they're called.
Okay, so she's talking to Jack in the earpiece this whole time?
Earpiece, yeah.
All the Russians who searched him, nobody noticed the big, the hearing aid?
No. It's even worse back in early 24 when they were even bigger. They were just huge on his ear, and they just wouldn't notice.
Yeah, they were like Bluetooth devices almost back then.
Yeah, and another thing, too, there's a couple other seasons of 24 where Jack ends up working undercover. Would you ever, if you were a criminal, ever for a second, and I know we know what we know, but even just meeting him, doesn't he just smell of cop? Wouldn't you be like, I'd never trust this guy, ever?
Yes.
even if he's running from the law. It's like, come on, this is Jack fucking Bauer. So we get Chloe, and Chloe says she has no time to explain what's going on, Jack, and he has no time. So I'm gonna put you on speaker, Jack. And Jack gets put on speaker, and this is the biggest Belichick episode so far, I guess. And Jack is going to tell them his plan, which I don't get why this was treated as a secret, because 2 seconds later when he picks up Kate and he's talking to Kate, he says, "I'll have backup waiting for you." So obviously it's Belichick. And obviously Chloe's going to be in their ears. So they set it up almost like it was going to be a big, like, what's Jack talking to them about? Which really, I think that they need to save time in the episode in the cut, and so they cut something. And so we go to Davies meeting with his counsel. The military dude asks Davies how they should explain extra military presence in the streets, and to not cause a panic. And almost like he feels it, a psychic connection, Heller calls and gets on the phone with him, and he says, "Listen, Davies, don't put military on the street. Let me handle this. We got a covert operation going on, and we're going to get down to business." And Davies goes, "Listen, Mr. President, that's all well and good, but I can't really trust what you're saying here." And Heller says, Okay, I'll tell you what's going on there. Jack Bauer is on the streets. I gave guns to a guy that's been a fugitive for the law for kidnapping the president, and so
I'm secretly Batman.
Yeah, secretly Batman. He's secretly Lucius Fox, and he's supplying Batman with the gear that he needs for success.
Yeah, I don't know. He went undercover, and then he lets it slip in the next scene or whatever. But I've been actually putting like his people away.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Jack Bauer, with what Jack Bauer's really be doing. So Heller says to Davies that Davies says he's a criminal and can't be trusted. Heller says he has a contact and they can't pick him up, and asks him to give him an hour. And the Prime Minister agrees as long as he keeps him in the loop. So the Prime Minister tells his assistant that maybe Heller is losing his mind, trusting Jack Bauer, and she says, "Yeah, he might really be losing it, and we should do something about this." And the Prime Minister starts setting into motion his plan to kind of keep an eye on what Jack Bauer is doing. If the president's going to have Jack Bauer in a blackout, he's going to watch him. He's going to spy on Bauer and figure out what the hell's going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course he would.
And they treat it like it's a bad thing. They treat it like oh, he's fucking around. But again, the Prime Minister has the biggest point of all here. It's his country.
Exactly. He's not going to sit back and just let the president run everything in England, in London. That makes no sense.
This series is being very American egocentric.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, we're the only ones that can handle this right now. We know we're in your country, but you guys just stay on the sidelines. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, they would. America would actually believe that that's the way it is in the entire world. Every country bows to our whim and does what our president says to do. Period. That's not actually the case. And
no, it isn't the case. It's what most dumb Americans would like to hope and believe happens. But no, it doesn't happen. It's everyone's individuals in their minds. They all make decisions, and that you have to protect your own safety, just like we expect our president and our government or our police force to protect our country. We have to expect that the Prime Minister of England is going to be doing the same thing for his people, and we have a crazy stark raving mad lunatic from Westeros with thrown bombs. We're in a danger.
When they threw her from the twins, she fell through a vortex and slipped into the next universe, landing into the Bower.
Pissed off. So this is a dangerous situation. So speaking of dangerous situations, Kate is checked outside for surveillance devices and just check to make sure nothing's on her. And I just think because Jack wanted to watch her get felt up. And Jack comes up and says he wanted to make sure she follows rules. And I think he's just fucking with her mind a little bit.
A little bit.
And she asks why he picked her, and he says, I needed someone that can handle the situation and can handle what was thrown at her. And I saw, he doesn't say it exactly, and I saw how you handled me, and I was impressed by you. And we saw that a couple times in the lead up in our first quarter of this 24 season when Jack was on the run. He was constantly impressed how she could keep step to step with him. So this makes perfect sense that he would want her on the team. And he asks why she was being sent back to the United States, and she tells him about her husband and tells him about the situation, and he says, "Were you involved?" "No, I wasn't involved." "Good, get in the car." He asks if she knows the arms dealer's name, and his name was Rask. Rask. Come on. Can I just call him Cask, Bask, Rat, or whatever? Carl Rask is his name. And Kate says they've been after him for years, and he knows that she works with Margot. And this is where it gets convoluted, and I had trouble keeping notes about exactly what Jack was saying here. And he might be able to contact her. She knows. She asks how he knows Carl, and he says he's been working for him for years. But if he sees him, he'd want to kill Jack because he thinks Jack's a rat. And he tells her to get in the car. She does, and they go, and they get a call from Chloe, and she says that she has all Rask's info, and they have to get him to log into an account on the phone. They should be able to track him. So they drive through, and we haven't quite got what Jack's plan is here. But basically, we learn that Jack worked for this guy, and he was also not just working for him, he was working inside the organization. But we're going to get to that in a second. Mark comes in, we get a Mark and Audrey scene, which is really just a lead-up for what happens afterwards. They just have a little bit of talk. Can we just break these two up? Well, we know what's happening. Can we just break these two up already? I don't need this almost romance crap between, like, either make them fall back in love and get through their shit rather quickly, make him a rat soon so we know he's a rat, Well,
I think they kind of are going the way of they've made him a rat. They made him a rat.
Yeah, what they did was they kind of went around me. In the sense, I mean,
what he did was treason.
What he did was treason. What they did was the two characters I thought were rats aren't rats. They're just really bad people that did treasonous, horrible things. With Brat or Bordeaux, who and Benjamin Bratt.
No, he did awful, horrible, malicious things on purpose, and did malicious, awful things.
They both did. That's what I'm saying. They both did. But he's not a rat. Neither one of them are a rat to Margot, like I thought, but they're both dirty, like we thought. So we were both right, just not right about what they're doing. Neither one of them, I think, are giving information to Margot El-Harazi.
I don't know. Whoever Brat was talking to seemed like they were using some sort of voice modulator covering up their voice.
It could be. It could be.
Could it be Margot?
Maybe that, or it could just be Margot is going to be caught in the next couple of episodes, and it's whoever our villain is for the last half of this 24 season. Not the real villain has yet to reveal themselves when we get into the whole Kate in the China story.
Right, that's because we've got to redeem Kate and get her back on track to get her own spin-off. You're right about that.
Spin-off is not happening, but what you are right about that you said earlier in the season is we're going to see her husband this season. We're definitely going to see her husband's getting out of jail this season, and he's going to be a part of it. You called the setup thing. I mean, we'll get to that at the end, but you called the fact earlier on that they mentioned it too much for it to be just simple fact that someone wasn't setting him up or setting her up with the whole China thing. So Mark comes in to see Audrey, and basically this is all a lead up, as I said, for the Russian guy from the embassy to call him and get him to leave the room, as Audrey looks really upset thinking about the fact that she wants to sleep with Jack Bauer. And the minister tells Mark that he knows about the threat and he's really, really sorry, but he wants to know when they're going to be giving him Jack Bauer. And he said, and Mark's like, the president kind of had a change of heart. He looked like he seemed like the kid, when a teacher busts you when you're like you're a 6-year-old and you don't know how to lie yet, or your parents ask you, and you're just like stuck with it a lot.
Figure being the advisor to the president, he would be a little quicker on the bullshit than that. Especially knowing he forged, he might have to explain this at some point to somebody, to anybody, and he just completely freezes and stumbles over himself.
Interesting question. Do you think that was the first time he ever forged the president's signature?
I gotta say no.
Me
I
too.
gotta say he
I think
did it rather quickly without thinking. It was. I'm thinking he's done it before.
Did you ever forge your parents' signature on a bad quiz or test in junior high school or elementary school?
Never.
I
I
did.
would never have done that, Mom and Dad.
I did that, and I got busted in front of the whole science class where they, where the teacher brought me in front of the class, calls me up, Miss Coleman, her name was, and goes, everybody, look at the signature on this test. This test.
Yeah, you don't exactly have handwriting.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, look at Philip's Philip did not think I would recognize his horrible handwriting, so I learned though.
It's like a chicken scratch that even the worst spelling doctor doesn't write as bad as you. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I learned after that to have one of the girls in class forge my mother's name. And
There you go.
there we go. If we're gonna have it done. So Mr. Bordeaux, you probably shouldn't be so nervous. You should be used to lying. If you've played that many poker hands before and bluffed before, your legs shouldn't shake. But I get it. You're at the final table of the World Series here. You're dealing with some really high stakes. So this is probably the biggest thing he's ever signed the president's name for, something like this, especially with how important Jack Bauer is getting in. And are you stupid for bringing the Russians into this situation? Come on. They're crazy. They crazily want Bauer. Are you that insecure about your relationship, dude?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was, which leads me to believe that there was something else that might have been able to clear him in the past that he didn't opt to go for. He's
Yeah.
more invested than just that. There's something else going on.
And the minister looks at Heller's signature after this whole scene, and with a little bit of he was skeptical look on his face. I don't think he quite bought that this was the signature.
Oh no, I don't think he thinks it is either.
No.
And he calls him on. He says, "Why don't you? Why don't you want me? Why don't you want to involve the president in this?
Well,
Why don't you want to let us talk to him? What's going on?"
I don't get.
Uh, oh,
So Kate asks Jack why the hell he was working with Rask, and he says he's been shutting down human trafficking groups.
oh, they set up they kind of set up. We'll talk later. We'll meet in private in person and talk about this. What he doesn't want to talk on the phone because of wiretaps. He doesn't think that they could be listening from 100 yards away. Like, it's ridiculous to think that even an in-person conversation is going to be private. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, he's getting in way over his
How's
head.
he going to get away? He's going to get away. He's going to sneak away from the president to meet up with the Russian spies in London. Like,
He's gonna hope that the president just forgets. The president has a spell.
yeah, it's kind of strange.
So Kate asks Jack why he's working with Rask, and he says he's been shutting down human trafficking and other shady groups. Now that Rask is working with, he says that he knows Rask will think that he was the one that was the leak, but he knows she'll have some connection with Margot because he's done major business with her, like he sold her lots of weapons. He says that his partner that he killed was the actual informant, but he was dead, that's what he's going to tell him, that the guy that he killed that figured out that Jack was the informant that he killed, he's going to lie and say that guy was the informant and tell Rask he was dead and put a needle into Kate's throat and knock her out and offer her up as a prize as being the person from the CIA that was this guy's contact.
Propofol.
Yeah, to back up the information. And Kate says they will want to interrogate her, as I said, but no, they will. And Jack looks at her like, "I'm going to shoot you with this needle. Is that okay?" And instead of waiting for Jack to do it, she just grabs it and puts it on her own neck. And I
You
swear,
see the look on Jack's face too is like,
He was so turned on. I don't think Jack Bauer's been that turned on
I
in a while.
think he was freaked out. I don't think he was turned on. I think he was like, "What the? You weren't supposed to use that much, sweetheart. You just might have killed yourself."
So Navarro comes back to CIA headquarters, and his computer guy, Jordan, says that's something he needs to look at right now. He says that they were doing some maintenance, and they found a patrician uh, removed in their systems, and they think that some sensitive files may have been transferred during sometime during Kate's husband's trial, and he wants to run a backup. And Navarro says to not pay attention to that, focus on the Al-Harazi crisis. My first thought in this moment was I thought it was Chloe's buddy there, the guy that we didn't see, Adrian Cross. I thought this was what Cross did when Jack gave them access.
That's what my first thought was too. And then, of course, my second thought was, oh, okay. Well, when we see Navarro later on make that phone call and he talks to the guy with the modulated voice, I thought, oh, that's Adrian Cross.
Yeah.
My first thought wasn't it was Margot. My first thought was
that's
it was
very
Adrian.
interesting. I kind of thought that too, especially with the voice and the way the inflections, even though it was under disguise, the way the voice was moving, it sounded like him. It did. I agree. And I think that is absolutely who it's going to be. And just to complete the thought of what we were saying, that he's going to end up being our main villain at the end of all this season. The final villain of the season will be this guy.
Right, of course it's going to be that guy because Chloe is right there with him the whole time, and it's going to be a big conflict for Chloe because she cares for this man. This man supposedly cared for her, and that's what it's going to all end up being about.
Drama. Now, speaking of, I'm going to yada yada a little bit of the scene. Simone yada 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 meets up with Navid's yada yada yada.
Ordered to meet up with Navid's sister by Catelyn Stark because Catelyn Stark wants to make sure all loose ends are tied and taken care of.
He meets up with her. They have a good little moment, and she realizes that this girl knows nothing, and she calls her mother and says, "Mom, this girl knows nothing."
Mom, my husband, Jon Stark knows nothing.
Jon Stark definitely knows nothing.
Jon Snow knows nothing.
And then they were like, I know we just totally called him Jon Stark there.
I know, right?
Both of us together did. And we were so proud of Ramsay that no stop. But Catelyn Stark isn't cool with this. Catelyn Stark says, no, cross your T's and dot your I's, hon. Even if she doesn't know anything, she may be able to lead somebody to you later. You weren't sure about your husband, so you might not be sure about these people. Why don't you just kill her?
Which hits on that same theme that we're going through with little Jack Blondie Bauer.
Yeah,
Blondie Bauer, her husband. She didn't see that and all that stuff, so...
And it's very interesting because Simone's like, well, she's here with her little daughter. I mean, what about the daughter? And she's like, well, it looks like you have two things to do.
Yeah, even mobsters don't kill the women and children, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly.
There's supposed to be a code, and these people are innocent too. That's where it's.
Yeah, they're not only innocent, but they absolutely don't know anything. They're just worried about their brother. That's all.
Yeah. So yada yada yada. Davies gets word that Jack was doing what Jack's doing, and instead of actually being able to really understand what he's doing, they visually see him just carrying passed out Kate out of the car and put her into the trunk. And reasonably speaking, they look at that and they go, "Oh my God, this guy is a criminal. He's working with the terrorists.
He's double-crossing the CIA right now."
Right now, we need to get a team in there. We need to get our team of our best James Bonds all together and head on in there. And
so, of course, they have good information, but it's badly interpreted.
Yep. Yeah, badly interpreted, which again, it's almost understandable. And
yeah, sure.
And right at this point, we cut over to Jack Bauer driving in the car, and them shooting him and asking him to come out, and him kind of offering up his whole plan. And saying, listen, I know, I got your money, This other guy was the rat. Look, we got the CIA informant person in my trunk. We've shot her up with all this stuff. She's passed out, and I got your money. And he goes, oh, you got my money? And we'll deal with that later. They go, oh, cool. We got some magic anti-knockout
Anti-propofol.
Yeah, and so we'll torture her and figure it out, and we'll figure out what you know too, Jack. Come with us. And we get across over to see Belichick across the street with a sniper rifle, and Chloe says that he only has one shot and to wait until Rask accesses the account. And as we're seeing Kate immediately get strung up on this chain and put into sort of this rack, I don't know, it's pretty, I don't know, I was kind of liking it. And it looked like Kate was liking it too. She didn't seem like when she finally got down from it all. Yeah, when she escaped it all, she had a big smile on her face, like she was excited that this day of work turned out to be this exciting.
Yeah, she was.
So Simone calls Margot. Oh, we already talked about this, and Margot tells her to kill the daughter too, and they start waking up, and the sister asks her to come to dinner. So it's a perfect situation. So she's in a perfect place to kill the daughter and the mother, the daughter and Naveed's sister. Fahara, it was her name.
Will you come to dinner with us?
Yeah, so you can kill us.
Auntie.
Great. Auntie, yeah, a auntie. And they wake up Kate, dragged and hooked up to a chain from the ceiling. They pull the chain, they yank her arms behind her. They ask her if what they offered the guy to turn him. Do they offer him money? Do they offer him?
Like the way she's hanging, she has her arms bound behind her, and then if you basically put a hook into the handcuffs, basically handcuffed but bound with like whatever, and then you put a hook into it and then lift her up from her wrists. She's hanging from her wrists with her arms behind her. This is not a comfortable position to be in.
And then they slice her thigh with a knife.
Or her belly. I couldn't tell where exactly they cut her, but they cut her.
They cut her. They gave her a big slash, and they covered her with a bucket of water. They started electrocuting her.
Yeah.
And Belichick says, Jack, that they aren't wasting any time on her.
He's looking from the roof. He's on the rooftop, and he's talking to Chloe, and Chloe's talking to Jack all in the earpieces.
Yep, and this is when Rask starts testing Jack. He asks him if he knows a guy named Metzger where he set up the account in the situation to where the money was, and they're playing a big game of poker here, and Chloe can't get the information, and Jack has to make the call whether it's allowed.
There are hidden files. I can't.
And Jack was very, very calm with a gun in his head, and he said, "There's no such thing as Metzger. You're fucking with me. You're playing the old making up a guy that doesn't even exist and seeing if I pretend like I know him."
I've played this game before.
I've played this game before, guys. You think you're the first one to play this stupid game? No.
I'm Jack Bauer, you bastard. I know this game.
Yeah, and this guy's really impressed. He says, "Look at Jack. I can't even get him to sweat. Oh, we played this game before. Jack's so good at this game." So we go upstairs, and
Belichick's still sweating because the torture's getting worse on Kate.
Yeah, they pulled out a drill. They have a radio arm saw. They're getting ready for some wood shop class with her.
She doesn't have time, Chloe. She doesn't have time.
I need to take the shot. And just as he's about to take the shot and save Kate, the 007s all show up and they knock Belichick out. Just when Belichick's going to have some action. This guy is bred to do one thing, to kill, and he hasn't even got a chance to kill. I feel so bad for this guy. I feel bad for Belichick. He can't steal anybody's plays. He can't do any spy game. He can't kill anybody. There's nothing good for Belichick other than his Super Bowl rings and the fact he's best friends with Jack Bauer. I mean, other than that, this Belichick guy, he's wasted opportunity with him. It's all wasted opportunities with Belichick, Joe.
They snuck up completely silently. There was like 12 of them behind them, too.
And I have to say, usually compared to the normal foot soldier type guys that we get in scenes like this, these guys are pretty effective. They did their job.
MI5. Those are like I'm sure those are the Navy SEAL equivalent.
So they're the Navy SEAL equivalent of.
Probably.
Are they what James Bond was, or what was James Bond?
No, James Bond is Jason Bourne.
Okay, Jason Bourne type thing. Okay, I understand.
Those guys were Navy SEAL guys or SWAT guys, like highly elite SWAT guys. They were SEAL Team 6.
Now, would you say that ultimately that's what, I mean, a little bit different, but ultimately that's what Jack Bauer is, the ultimate extension of that initial Bond character? Or these all
Bond Bourne. That's
yeah.
What
perfect way of describing it. And So Rask
Bond, Bauer,
B.
getting a alliteration going there.
Oh, a little conspiracy theory going on here. Yeah, they all end in I, man, or they all begin with B, which means bomb, which means boy, which means we're through
Balls.
the balls. They all have balls. 3 balls. Does that mean our next hero's gonna have 3 testicles? So Rask logs into the count, and that will let Chloe track him and figure out what he knows and if he has any connection to Margot. And right as the British forces close in, Kate is about to face the drill or the saw. I couldn't tell which one it was. I think it was a drill. And Kate tells the guy that there's going to be another raid on their next operation. And the guy says, yeah, there's several operations. Kate's just trying to buy time.
Yeah, he doesn't buy that bullshit one way or the other. He's like, I don't care what you're going to say. He wants me to torture you for information. You're not going to give me anything. I'm just going to kill you, torture you for the fun.
Yep, and Rask is just about has all the information punched on in, has it.
But he's not pressing enter, Jack. He's not pressing enter.
Jack, do you know what I was wondering at that moment right there? If Jack was going to have to push enter.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I was wondering that was a big moment there. At least we got
whining in the microphone. He won't put it in. He won't put it in, Jack.
Yeah, we're not talking about Adrian Cross here, Chloe. We're talking about some much more serious situations. And again, Joe makes another opportunity to make some sort of sexual reference towards Chloe. So we get in Joe. I wonder what he's having. What he's having the faceless girl at his house over there, Kate. His Kate dress up as on Halloween. A little Chloe cosplay going on here. So.
The faceless girl to my left.
Faceless girl to I don't know if she wants her name out here, so the faceless girl to your left.
I'm gonna have her dress up as Hug instead.
So the guy stops the drill when he hears the gunfire, and the torturer runs off and Kate wraps her legs around the other guy's neck and chokes.
She's horrified. Sorry, she's horrified.
Right? I'm sorry, Kate. Different Kate. And she wraps the legs around the other guy's neck and chokes him down. And she gets undone from the hook and she tightens the grip on him. And we get to see Kate really in some action. She grabs the knife with her feet and she stabs the guy. Does like a cool, awesome move. It's pretty.
Okay. All he had to do was fall to the floor. He would have ripped her arms right out the back of her body. Like, I was a little disappointed in this Russian or this arms smuggler. All he had to do was fall to the ground. No way she could hold his weight up. He was huge. He was at least 250 pounds.
But Joe, she has good guy powers.
She has good guy powers in the Rock's shoulders or something. Jesus.
She does. Jack's been teaching her in the 5 minutes that they've known each other. She has superpowers, and so Jack.
Shoulders.
Yeah, and so Kate rips the guy's neck off and kicks his ass, stabs him, and Raskin's crew start swapping fire as the English soldiers start popping on in. Jack takes cover and he hits enter on the laptop after kicking some Jack Bauer ass, and the virus is uploaded. Chloe tells Jack she has it. She's been implanted, and Kate takes cover upstairs as she comes under heavy fire, and she grabs the gun, and she kills a couple guys and knocks out a couple guys, and this is right when Jack pulls a gun and gets Rask and tells him to put his weapon down and tells him to get on his knees. Right as he's about to get him in handcuffs and get him into custody, the MI5 guys run on in, and Jack tells him, wait, working undercover for the president. Don't do anything, you know.
It was just like the first episode when Patrick's running away from him and Kate comes up on, and not Kate, whatever her name is, the blonde chick, and her CIA buddy come up on him outside the building and watch Simone and him run away. Yeah. I gotta get him.
And that's what happened, except he didn't want to get away. He grabs a grenade and he blows himself up. And another interesting moment,
which goes to show that exactly what he said to the president wasn't a lie. This guy cannot be broken. This guy cannot be bought.
But you know who else can't be broken? Who's really the unbreakable? Who's really Bruce Willis? Again, a Bruce Willis reference is Jack Bauer. Jack Bauer basically took the blast of a grenade and it went through Jack Bauer and hit the guy that was standing.
No, he put the guy in front of him. He was trying to push the guy on the ground, but he ended up using him as a human shield.
Shield him, and I love how Jack Bauer just like Chloe's
he
like
ties him up afterwards. I don't think he was dead. If you notice, he's tying
his wound. He
ties his wrists up, so I don't think he actually died. He was just severely wounded.
I just love Jack's reaction when Chloe's like, "Are you all right?" We see this guy's that was right next to him with his body blown out. That Jack's like tying him up. He's like, "Yeah, Chloe, I'm all right.
I'm fine. What have you? You know nothing.
You know nothing, Chloe O'Brien. You know nothing, Chloe O'Brien." And yeah, I just thought it was funny the way he just was like, "Yeah, grenade." It was just such a funny moment. And Jack tells Chloe he's okay, and asks why the soldiers are there, and he asks if they found anything about Margot, and says to look about 30 days back, it would have been like a really, really big purchase, a lot of money. Chloe says that it's there, and she found a mobile number, and it's somewhere in South London, and they'll work on narrowing it down. And this is cutting with Simone. And the way that it was all set up, I don't know if it's going to end up being like I thought it was Simone's phone. Is that who they must? That's what Chloe has, right?
The way the phone was moving at the end on the GPS,
yeah, made it seem like it was her phone, right?
Yeah, and then when you see the scenes from next week, which you're going to see all week long in the commercials for it, it really made it appear they were on top of her at the hospital in the previews. So.
Right. So
it's going to be Chloe's phone that they were tracking.
So we cut off to our last scene here, really. I mean, we get a couple of 24 moments with the split screen, and we see other stuff going on everywhere.
Yeah, doot moment at the end.
But our last two scenes here. First of all, we have Simone at lunch or dinner with Fahara and her daughter's upstairs playing, and they're eating. And we see Simone has a little knife under the table, thinking about, I gotta kill these people, I don't want to kill these people, And finally, the brother was right, because the brother when Margot made this order, the little brother gave the look like, you're pushing her too much. And he was right, he knows his sister. And Simone just stops and goes, wait, something's wrong. Is something wrong with Naveed? No, it's not about Naveed. Yeah, maybe it is, but you need to get the hell out of here now. Leave London. And this girl's like, leave London? What are you talking about, leave London? And as I've said before, when somebody tells you to get the fuck out of there, you get the fuck out of there and you ask questions later. I'm sorry, that's what you do. When someone asks you if you're a God Ray, you say yes. And then you figure it out after the fact. She should have left. This was
right. No, let me call the police on you instead.
Exactly. First of all, she asked too many questions, and then, as Joe just said, her second thought was, I'm going to go call the police. And she picks up the phone. This woman just tells you, this woman whose family you obviously know is a little shady. I mean, she must know a little bit about the family.
She's obviously worried enough over whatever message she got from her brother that she's really freaked out.
Yeah.
For his safety, that she should be, and she's worried enough where she wants to call the police because the blonde chick, Kate's being really freaky to her. Yeah. This was not a smart move by her, not thinking about her daughter. She should have just said, like, yes, okay, and there's a million phones on the way.
Yeah, this was a stupid move.
Drive straight to the police station.
Stupid. So instead, it turns into a little scuffle between them, and just like we've had this a lot, the old scuffling, and one person gets stabbed in the scuffle.
Falls on the knife 30 times.
Yeah, bleh, one of us is stabbed. Bleh, thing happened. It was. How many times have we seen this? And there's a couple of moments in tonight's episode. I personally really loved last episode, the episode previous to this one, and I like this one, especially the Jack stuff. But there was a lot of cliche stuff happening in this episode, and this was one of the big cliche moments with the struggle and the knife stab thing happening, and she stabbed her by accident. But it was worse than that. She stabbed her by accident, and the daughter saw the whole thing, and she goes, "No, wait! I didn't mean to stab your mother. I'm your auntie. Come to auntie."
And the little girl just takes off.
Smart little girl books it and runs outside. This was again one of my favorite parts of the episode. They're running. She's running after the girls. And
the neighbor on her way out of the house, the neighbor sees her
Exactly, and starts chasing by a nice innocent bystander. Just helps.
Yasmin.
I'll save you. And they're running. She's running. She turns a corner. She crosses the street, and I'm like, oh my god, the little girl's gonna get hit. Oh my god. And then Simone gets flattened Barney Stinson style by the bus. Splat, and she flies. It's like setting the world, land, air, human record. She's like, bash.
It was nice. It was nice. Only now, what is stark living lunatic is going to be like, oh, I'm going to bomb the bus company that ran over my daughter until they hand over their president and the driver of the bus.
It's looking, and we're not spoiling anything. We're just doing scenes from next week, leading into scenes from next week, as you were pointing out. It looks like.
Wait, wasn't there one more scene?
I'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to complete this because it's the only thing worth talking about from scenes of next week. Is that it seems like Simone is alive. She did not die in the bus accident. She's in the hospital, and obviously the authorities, Jack is going to be led to the hospital by Chloe, and a couple other things are going to happen. And what seems like is that Margot is going to attack the hospital with drones. That's what it looks like is going to happen.
And then chase Bauer through the streets of London with one of the drones, just randomly shooting missiles off everywhere. Like a crisis not averted, guys.
She's not going to be able to hurt Jack Bauer. Jack Bauer would punch it in the face.
Kill as many London citizens as you want, as long as you don't kill the president of the United States.
So after Simone gets hit by a bus, we transition over to Jordan running his program that he was telling Navarro about earlier, and Navarro heads down to a server room. And fortunately for this episode, Benjamin Bratt didn't really have to wear much of a wardrobe. He wore the bad guy shirt for most of the episode. He had the bad guy shirt on. He was wearing the scuffed up. He didn't change his clothes when he got back from the bomb. He just kept the bad guy, like, dun, 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 with those looks in his eye, like dun, 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 the whole episode. So just so you know, he's a bad guy. If he had a mustache, he would have been twirling it, and
right.
with the bad news, wearing a little black hat too. So he gets on the phone, and we hinted at this a couple times in the evening, with some guy with one of those cheap Scream voice changer things. Are you in the house alone? And we basically find out in this whole situation that, to sum it up, that the information that about Kate's husband being a rat to the Chinese government was actually implanted by Benjamin Bratt, and he basically
the rat, baby.
Benjamin Bratt's the rat. He asked the man is working with Kate, and he says he doesn't think so. The man says that if he recovers the files, he won't be able to protect Navarro, and the CIA will know Adam was set up. So, bam, and beep, beep, beep. Benjamin Bratt's the rat. And who is the man behind the voice? We already did those speculations. I personally, and I think Joe and I both think it's Adrian Cross. And whether we think
that would be the most logical. I mean, it's computer stuff that is missing, that's been re-encoded and all that crap. It was Adrian Cross that kind of set Bauer up at the at when he tried to get into the embassy in the first place.
Yeah, and
it really points to Adrian Cross, and if it's not Adrian Cross, then he was just selling stuff to Margot.
It's either Adrian Cross or Bordeaux, and I don't think it's Bordeaux because I think it has to be someone we've met already.
No, Bordeaux's the Jack Bauer's ex-husband.
Yeah, I don't think it's him. I personally don't think it's him.
I don't think it's him either, because we would have just had his voice, because they've already been kind of cahooting behind people's backs a little bit.
Mm.
So.
Well, everybody, this has been this week's 24, episode 6. We're at the halfway point, Joe. We have 6 more episodes to go of 24.
They're getting better.
They are getting better, and we're getting to something here. And I do think I personally like last week's better than this week's, but I don't think this was a bad episode. I was very much entertained watching it. This isn't. I mean, it's not a show that there's a lot of speculation about what happens and things like that. You can kind of be somewhat predictive of what's going to happen. But I gotta admit, I'm not exactly sure how this is all going to play off. I don't know how much damage they're going to let Catelyn Stark do, and it's going to be interesting to see how soon they stop her. And
I think she's going to get away with doing from judging by the previews, it looks like she gets away with quite a bit in that short amount of time, just with the chase on Jack Bauer. Unless, of course, it's just edited together to make it look like that's what's going on.
That's where it's very difficult going by trailers, and I've heard other people say this, and I like to almost adopt this to not talk too much about trailers as what's going to happen, but we can use it as information for speculation.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's speculation, because speculation's fun, especially when you're dealing with a show that you don't have to watch out what you're saying because you know what's going to.
We can't speculate on the other show we do a cast on right now, so.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do that because spoilers are a huge thing there, and we already made this joke way early on, but neither one of us have read the 24 books, so we don't know what's going on. So everybody, thank you very much for tuning into the post-episode issues 24, Live Another Day. This week we'll be back next week to talk more 24, and we'll be back on Sunday to talk about the second to last episode of Season 4 of Game of Thrones. Oh my goodness, we're almost done with our shows and leading into the summertime. It's going to be a fun vacation, and we are going to be doing some shows in the summer. We're going to be talking about Orange is the New Black, and we're going to probably have a third person in on some of those podcasts talking about that show in the summer.
I want to get you in on Ray Donovan. It's such a fantastic.
Maybe a couple other things along the way as well, and then we'll be full force coming out in the fall as well with a couple of
The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead and Gotham we're going to be doing, and
I can't wait for that too.
We definitely do Gotham. That's a freaking definite. And we might pull out the dartboard of all the new series for shows and like throw a dart at one and be like, let's just pick a random one and see if it goes. I like to do that every year. I picked one this year. It was the Josh Holiday show I watched with I forget what it was called. I already forget what it was called. And the year, but it's the last 2 years it would have been Lost People, and the year before it was Alcatraz. Intelligence was the one I watched this year.
That got canceled, didn't it?
It did, and it should have.
It should have, yeah.
Should have. I think if they were going to keep it, it's a show similar to 24 in the sense that, especially bad seasons of 24, if you have Jack Bauer on screen, it works, but if you have other people on screen, it doesn't always work.
Right.
This show particularly had 2 or 3 really good characters. There was a father-son doctor duo that played weird science doctors that were very entertaining on the show. And Josh Holiday playing the adult Daryl from the movie Daryl. He was very entertaining, but he had a partner, this female cop, and there was this whole agency sort of vibe going on with the leader, the commander, and that all sucked. And the Criminal of the Week thing is so played out. I don't want to watch a show that there's just a criminal of the week. I think TV's past that. We can't do that in hour-long dramas where it's like a deeper show. You can't just play that criminal of the week stuff. It has to be a long-going story arc. And the show would have some episodes that were good story arcs, some that weren't. And it was a show that I think could learn a lot from a show like 24 and maybe retool it, but I'm glad it got canceled. So, anyways, guys, sorry for the long extended finish, but thank you very much thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it. Talk to you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye.